Most people who are suffering from chronic joint pain, inflamed skin, and accelerating aging are doing everything right: the stretches, the supplements, the expensive creams, and none of it is working. And the reason none of it is working has nothing to do with effort. It has everything to do with what they are putting on their skin, and more importantly, what they are not. Because right now, sitting in the kitchens and health stores of people across the world is an oil so dense with bioactive compounds that researchers have called it one of the most therapeutically rich substances ever studied for topical use. And tonight, I am going to tell you exactly what happens, down to the cellular level, when you rub it into your skin before bed. Because what happens is not what you have been told, not even close. Let me ask you something first. If you have been dealing with achy joints that flare up at night, skin that looks older than it should, or that low grade inflammation that never fully goes away, you already know the frustration. You have tried things, you have read labels, you have maybe even gone to doctors who shrugged and handed you a prescription strength version of something you could buy over the counter, and somewhere along the way, you started wondering whether anything actually works. That frustration is completely valid because the wellness industry has been selling you diluted, synthetic, shelf stable products designed for profit margins, not for healing. And meanwhile, the most powerful topical remedy on earth has been quietly sitting in peer reviewed research, used for centuries in traditional medicine, available for a few dollars, and almost completely ignored by mainstream health culture. That changes tonight. Now, before I tell you which oil this is and exactly what it does, I need you to understand something about your skin that most people never learn. Your skin is not a barrier that keeps things out, it is a delivery system that pulls things in. The outer layer, the stratum corneum, is selectively permeable, meaning certain molecules, specifically small lipophilic compounds, can pass directly through it and enter the bloodstream. This is how nicotine patches work. This is how hormone gels work. And this is exactly why the oil I am about to describe is so remarkable. Because its molecular structure is almost uniquely designed to penetrate that layer, carry its compounds deep into the dermal tissue, and interact directly with the inflammatory pathways living underneath your skin. Most topical products never make it past the surface. This one does. And what happens when it does is where the story gets extraordinary. The oil is black seed oil, also called black cumin oil, Nigella sativa. And I know some of you have heard the name before. But I can almost guarantee you have not heard the full picture of what it actually does at the biological level when applied topically every single night. Because the surface level headline, "it helps with inflammation," is so wildly underselling this compound that it borders on misleading. So let's go deeper. Let's talk about what is actually happening. The most pharmacologically active compound in black seed oil is called thymoquinone. And thymoquinone is not a gentle, passive antioxidant. It is a militant anti inflammatory agent that works by suppressing a master regulator of inflammation in the body called NFKB. Now, NFKB is essentially a switch. When it gets activated, as by stress, injury, toxins, poor sleep, it turns on a cascade of pro inflammatory genes. Your body floods the area with cytokines. You get swelling, heat, redness, pain. And for most people dealing with chronic pain, this switch is stuck in the on position. It never fully turns off. Thymoquinone flips that switch. Studies have shown it inhibits NFKB activation, reduces the downstream production of inflammatory cytokines like TNF alpha and interleukin 6, and does so without the gastrointestinal damage that comes from pharmaceutical anti inflammatories. And when you rub this oil into your skin, particularly over inflamed joints or muscles, that thymoquinone begins absorbing within minutes. But here is where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that most people completely miss. The benefits do not stop at inflammation, not even close, because black seed oil also contains a high concentration of linoleic acid and oleic acid, essential fatty acids that your skin absolutely craves. As we age, our skin's lipid barrier begins to break down. The structural fat that keeps skin plump, hydrated, and youthful begins to deplete. Fine lines appear. Skin becomes dull. The bounce is gone. And the conventional beauty industry's answer to this is to sell you retinol creams with stabilizers and emulsifiers and alcohol bases that actually strip the skin while pretending to restore it. Black seed oil, on the other hand, replenishes the lipid layer directly. It mimics the natural oils your skin produces. It feeds the skin cells exactly what they need to maintain integrity and elasticity. And because of those small permeable molecules we talked about earlier, it reaches the deeper fibroblast cells, the ones responsible for producing collagen and elastin, the ones that actually keep skin firm. When fibroblasts are nourished and inflammation in the surrounding tissue is reduced, collagen synthesis improves. Not because of a chemical trick, because you removed the obstacles that were suppressing it. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video that there is one specific thing about how you use this oil that makes the difference between results and disappointment. I want to come back to that because it is critical. But first, I need to tell you about the pain side of this equation, because there is a mechanism at work here that most people have never considered. When you experience chronic pain in your knees, your back, your hands, a large part of that pain signal is being amplified by something called peripheral sensitization. Your nerve endings in inflamed tissue become hypersensitive over time. They start firing at lower and lower thresholds. Things that should not hurt, hurt. And one of the most profound effects of thymoquinone is its influence on this sensitization process. Research shows that it modulates specific pain receptors, particularly TRPV1 receptors, the same receptors that capsaicin in chili peppers targets. It essentially turns down the volume on the nerve signal without numbing you or interfering with your central nervous system. This is why people who apply black seed oil directly to arthritic joints, to sore muscles, to areas of nerve pain often describe not just reduced inflammation, but a qualitative change in the nature of the pain. It becomes quieter, less urgent, more manageable, and that effect compounds over time because you are not just masking the signal. You are actually changing the sensitization of the tissue. Now consider this. Everything I have described so far, the NFKB suppression, the lipid barrier restoration, the collagen support, the nerve desensitization, all of that is happening simultaneously when this oil is absorbed into the skin. There is no pharmaceutical drug on earth that touches all four of those mechanisms at once without a list of side effects a page long. And this oil costs roughly $10 to $15 for a bottle that lasts weeks. That is not a coincidence. That is what happens when something is genuinely therapeutic rather than commercially engineered. But I promised you something specific. I told you there is a detail about how and when you use this oil that separates the people who see dramatic results from the people who try it once, feel nothing, and give up. And here it is. Nighttime application is not just a preference. It is a biological necessity if you want the full effect. Here is why. Your skin cycles through its most active repair mode during sleep. Between the hours of roughly 11 at night and 4 in the morning, cellular regeneration accelerates. Skin temperature rises slightly, which increases absorption. And because you are not exposed to UV radiation, pollutants, or physical friction while you sleep, the oil has an uninterrupted window to penetrate, absorb, and do its work. People who apply this in the morning and go about their day are washing it off, sweating it off, and exposing it to oxidative stress from sunlight before it ever has a chance to reach the deeper layers. The nighttime window is everything. Apply it right before bed. Massage it in gently using circular motion to stimulate microcirculation. Focus on the joints or areas of chronic pain. Apply a thin layer across the face if aging is your concern. And then sleep. Let the biology do exactly what it is designed to do. There is one more thing I want to say, and this matters more than anything else in this video. Consistency changes everything. This is not a once-a-week treatment. It is not something you do when you remember. The anti-inflammatory cascade, the lipid restoration, the nerve modulation, all of it requires repeated, sustained application to produce changes that accumulate and hold. Most people who say this did not work for them used it for 3 days. The people who report life-changing results used it every single night for 4 to 8 weeks without stopping. Your body does not respond to gestures. It responds to patterns. And when you give it this compound, in this window, with this consistency, The pattern it responds to is one of genuine, measurable cellular change. You have been living with inflammation, with pain, with skin that doesn't reflect how you actually feel inside. And you have been looking for something that is real, not a marketing claim, not a celebrity endorsement, something that works at the level of biology. This is it. One oil every night. And your skin, your joints, and your inflammatory system will be fundamentally different in 60 days than they are right now. That is not a promise I am making. That is what the research says. That is what centuries of documented use say. And now you know why. If this gave you something real, something you are going to actually use, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps more people find this information. And if you want to go deeper into the science of natural compounds that actually work, subscribe, because that is exactly what this channel is built for. There is a lot more where this came from.